Okay, and we're going to start. So, hi everybody. Hi Nikki.
Hey, hey.
Super excited to have you here with us. And thank you for being willing to do this because I shared with you, it started with just a very, very small vision to have people very close to Gary just share stories about Gary. I mean, we
Love
all
it.
miss him. It's been 2 years, and I think along the way we've got so many more millions of users all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes I think people forget how this company got started, and this really is quite a different company. Um, and I just kind of, when the whole idea came up, few people came to mind, and you were definitely one of those people that go like, we need to get Nikki Davis on this to tell us crazy stories about Gary, about what you guys do. So thank you very much again. Okay.
My
And
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
yeah, so we have with us today some of our team leaders and builders, but I also know a lot of people who are going to be watching this because this is pre-recorded. So we're going to have this pretty much circulate, maybe viral worldwide. And so there may be some people who are super familiar with you. And then there could be people who go like, Nikki, I've heard of her. Okay, so just a quick introduction to everybody. Nikki Davis, I just found out that she was the director. She was serving as the director for Young Living Foundation 2014 to 2017. And so personally, Nikki is a friend, is someone I call friend, very, very precious to me. And when I witnessed her come into Young Living and take over this role to grow Young Living Foundation, which has always been Gary's dream to create that impact around the world. Like you took his vision and then you just amplified it. Like I just I just felt so privileged to witness all of that. So um and along the way we got to know you. We traveled to Uganda with you. We had the opportunity to work with you in Ecuador as well. So it's just an amazing history that we had together. Um, yeah, but I really want to pass the mic over to you so you can tell us what it's really like working alongside a man with such huge vision.
Mm,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you for having me and thank you for that lovely introduction. It's great to be with you all. It's great to have an opportunity to share memories about Gary this week, especially when we commemorate the 2 years since his passing. And it's always it's mixed emotions, right? You want to be celebrating a person who's passed, but it's also the sting is even stronger since they've passed. But yes, it was an absolute honor to work so closely with Gary. He is one of the most incredible human beings I could ever imagine actually walking the earth. He lived so many lives in his one life. He mastered so many trades. He ran so fast. He did so much in his one lifetime that many people never ever experience. So it's quite the ride. And yeah, when he brought me on in 2014, the foundation was basically the school in Ecuador. He brought me on to carry out his vision and what the visionary he was. I remember my interview with him. So my background is as an international corporate attorney that worked primarily with nonprofit clients. So I had worked with organizations all over the world. And I remember Jared Turner when he asked me to come join Young Living. I said, all right, I'll have to think on that. But then what really swayed me was my interview with Gary, and that happened at 6:00 in the morning at Gary's house. And I showed up, right? I'm a corporate lawyer, right? So I show up in my skirt suit with my briefcase. I'm all ready to go. 6 a.m. at his home. I show up with Jared, knock on the door. He opens the door in his pajamas. And I thought, all right. And he swears it's a tracksuit, but it looked like he didn't just hop out of bed, because he'd probably been up since 4:00 in the morning, really working out in his outdoor gym. But so he welcomed me in. And then he proceeded to make breakfast for me. He made einkorn pancakes and this turkey bacon that I was like, that's bacon for real? And and then he poured me this glass of red stuff and said, this is amazing stuff right here. It's called Ningxia. I was like, all right, that's not orange juice. That's all I know. And I drank it and I thought, hey, this is quite good. And I thought, okay, this is not your typical interview environment, but I thought maybe he'll ask me some questions. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Look over a resume, see, what I've done, what, my experience. No, he didn't care about a resume. He didn't care about accolades. He didn't care about my past education. He sat there and he looked across from me and he said, what are you passionate about? What's most important in life to you? What do you want to be remembered for? How do you want to make a difference in the world? And I thought, okay, I'd been on the hiring committee of my law firm. I'd interviewed hundreds of lawyers before, and I had never even thought of this kind of a question in an interview process. And I proceeded to tell him, oh, wow, this guy actually cares about me and who I am and what I value, what makes me tick. And he wants to know my heart. He doesn't just care about the brain I have and the way I can add value to his company and grow his company and increase the bottom line. Coming from a legal background, those are the things people are looking for in an interview. They're looking for, how can this person bring profit and benefit my company so that we can grow the bottom line? That is not what he was looking for. He was looking to see if I and my heart was something that was going to carry his name for his foundation, which he was very passionate about, and continue on his legacy. And to know if I was the right fit at the time, he needed to know my soul. And we proceeded to talk about the most important things in life. And he sat there and told me about, through tears, he told me about an experience he had had in Somalia, looking for frankincense, and how he had gone on different trails and met different people. And he went to this village that was a 5-hour bumpy road drive from the nearest health clinic. And when he arrived to that village, a woman who had gone into labor and had some complications needed to be rushed to that clinic, didn't make it there because it was such a long and tough road. And it pained his soul so much that this woman had gone through that experience. And he said, there are too many people in the world whose daily life is like that, and we have to do something about it. And I thought, my goodness, here is this man who has founded an amazing company. He's obviously, you know, he could be sitting on his laurels and cash in the dividends for the company and have boats and mansions and summer homes all over the world. And no, I am sitting there in a very humble home, a nice home, but it's not grandiose. It's not flashy. It's just real people live there, everyday people. And what he cares about is using his resources, his what he has at his disposal, his skills and his heart to help people, to benefit the world. And it shocked me, coming from such a profit-driven industry, to meet someone who was so purpose-driven, did not ever once allude to a bottom line or make me feel like I was part of a bottom line. Whereas in the legal field, I felt like my value was based upon how much money I could make someone else. And no, my value to Gary was on how much I could bless somebody who needed it most. And that was incredible to me. That was a complete mind shift. And after that interview, I thought, I want to be part of this. This is a company that doesn't ebb and flow with a normal economy. This is a company based on what matters most in life, and people were the most important thing to Gary, and blessing their lives was the absolute most important thing to him. More important than himself, his own, you know, opportunities and pleasures and, you know, he could have done anything in the world. He had plenty of opportunity to, but no, he spent all of his time blessing people. And that's, you know, he started to talk to me about the school in Ecuador. I thought, well, okay, so you're living in Ecuador, building out the Young Living Farm. What's this connection to a school? And as we were on an airplane down to Ecuador for the first time, we were sitting together and he was telling me the history. And he told me, you know, I was building the farm and it was so exciting. The land was so plush. I was excited for all the plants we could grow there. But every day I would drive by this old dilapidated building on my way to and from town from the farm. And he said, and that was the school that my farm employees' children went to. And he said, every time I passed by it, I got this pit in my stomach thinking, I love these employees. They're working so hard to carry out this dream that I have to bless people with the botanicals that exist in Ecuador. But yet their children are going to this tiny building with no windows and no latrine. So kids just go to the bathroom in this outdoor shack. And all the grades are together in one room. There's one teacher, shows up if she feels like it. And he said that just weighed on me. And I couldn't bear the fact that the children of people I cared about so much were going to this school. And he said, so I decided I'm going to do something about that. And again, evidence of using your time, your resources, and your expertise to do something about it. Not wait for someone else to do something, not wait for someone else to come and solve a problem. Think, oh gosh, that's pretty overwhelming. I mean, he's a busy guy, right? He's running a company from Ecuador that's in America while building out a farm there. And, you know, building a school, finding the land for a school and building a school on it is no small feat. But he didn't care. He knew that he could do it. There were literally no limitations in the mind of Gary Young. I remember he would tell me, I love it when people say I can't do this or that's impossible. He said, it just fuels me, makes me want to show him, oh yeah, watch, I'll do it. And he said, so I set out to build a school. So he loved the land that was just across from the school. He thought, well, if kids are walking to that school, they'll likely need land that's nearby. The land was owned by an older gentleman and his wife, and he made offer after offer. He offered twice of what the land was worth, and the man just had an attachment to the land, and he said, no, I'm not going to sell it. And so Gary asked someone in town who knew the man, what does this guy really want? What's he after? He clearly doesn't care to make a lot of money. And I'm trying to build a school for these kids. His land is swampy. It's not like it's prime real estate. And the gentleman said, he really wants a motorcycle. So Gary said, all right. He went out and he bought a motorcycle. He brought it to the guy's house and he said, what if I throw in this motorcycle? Will you do the deal? And the man said, done. So he bought the land with the offer he gave plus the motorcycle. I mean, again, there is no roadblock that would actually stop Gary Young. He would always find a way and was determined to find a way because he knew and he saw in his mind what could exist there. He saw what exists today. Back in 2008, 2009, when he built the school, when he had the vision to purchase the land. And what exists now is 350 kids go to school. Every single child that has gone to that school has graduated. And in a town where only 20% of children graduate, the graduation rate at Young Living Academy is 100%. And the kids learn composting, they grow their own food. It's an incredible place. And I know many of you have been there and have seen. I used to say, Disneyland is not the best place on earth. This school is the greatest place on earth. The kids help each other. I remember seeing an older kid bend over so that a younger kid could stand on his back to get up to the drinking fountain. And I thought, my goodness, these kids they're united and they are living the principles that Gary espoused, that he encapsulated. And that's just, let's show those pictures. I forgot to say that.
Give me a second.
I'm so excited. That there's a.
Okay.
There.
Okay. You can.
So this is right before a presentation for a platinum retreat. I think it was in 2015. And Gary and I are talking over plans to grow the school. And I remember saying, okay, Gary, we want to double the admittance. We talked through the vision, and Gary said to me, he said, make sure when you're building this building, you build so that you can put layer upon layer upon layer on top, because we will never stop growing. The land, we can't just build lots and lots of one-story buildings because we're going to run out of space eventually. And I thought, my gosh, this, we get so excited. Oh yeah, we're going to grow the school. It's going to be great. We need a building that can fit another 100 kids. But that was my thinking, right? And Gary was always 1, 2, not just 1, 2 years in the future, 10, 15, 20. I mean, he thought, he would say, there's going to be a university on this land. And I thought, goodness grief, man. But he literally was always thinking ahead. And what is at the cornerstone of his philosophy and what drove his thoughts and his ideals was, how can we better the lives of, in this case, these children here. And it was never, what are the monetary constrictions? What are, how many of us think in terms of, okay, well, what are the problems associated with that? What are the limitations there? No, he always saw what could be, and then he came up with a plan of how to make it happen. And then after this meeting, he sat down on draft paper and he actually designed the building with measurements on draft paper and everything. Like, it looked like architectural drawings. And I was just in awe, thinking, gosh, what in the world can this man not do? I mean, he just had so many gifts and so many talents. And it's not because he was afforded all kinds of opportunities when he was young, because he had challenge after challenge after challenge when he was a young boy and a teenager and a young man. But he had this drive and this understanding and vision that he was going to have an amazing impact on the world. And go ahead and show the next picture. And this is what drove that vision, is seeing these children who he had been playing on his farm, running through the trees, day after day, seeing them graduate from high school, go on to university, have an education, have opportunity. I mean, you see the look in his eyes and the sheer joy on his face. This is the very first graduating class of Young Living Academy. And I mean, he just could not stop beaming with joy and crying tears of joy and gratitude. And he was just so proud of these kids and for the life that they had created, because he offered them an opportunity. You want me to just talk and talk and talk, or do you want me to?
Wait, I'm just listening. I'm like, there's so many moments I feel like crying. I'm trying not to make any noise.
Well, there are many moments I feel like crying too, but I feel like this is a Zoom call. You can't cry on a Zoom call.
We can do anything here.
Okay, cool.
You can run through the pictures if you want us to ask. Yeah. And actually, I think the girls will have questions, but I think they just
okay.
for you to tell your story. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if they do have questions, stop me, because I'm not going to be very quick to catch the questions. So yeah, what drove Gary was people, and you don't find a lot of companies like that, and that's a company that you can put your confidence in, that you can take a risk with, because it's a very secure company when people care most about people. I remember when there was a very bad earthquake that hit Ecuador in 2016, I think March of 2016. And we were gathering. I talked to Gary about it immediately when we heard, and he was very distraught. It hadn't harmed anything at the farm, or in Chang'an, where the Young Living Farm is, or at the school. But the epicenter was just a few hours away. And he said, this is the area where the Young Living Foundation began. We've got to do something about it. And so we gathered, we brought in couple $100,000 worth of donations from amazing, giant-hearted Young Living members like all of you. And we gathered I remember Mary came into my office with boxes of Young Living products. And as I was about to leave, and I took probably 8 suitcases and boxes worth of Young Living product. And then when I arrived, we spent all of the money at the local stores, because we wanted to infuse that into the local economy. and purchased truckloads of supplies with this charge from Gary. He told me, Nikki, I want you to go where no other organization is going. I don't want you to go where the Red Cross is going. I don't want you to go where first responders are. I don't want you to go where others are going to give help. I want you to go out into remote villages and find the most vulnerable and help them, because no one else will. But we will do what no one else will do. We will find the people who need us most. We will go to the hardest to get places, and we will bring aid and comfort and love to the people who need it most. And I thought, yeah, like, I mean, not only is that incredibly moving, it's real, right? Again, Gary was never afraid of something that was hard. It's like he thrived on things that were hard because he knew that most people will just take the easy route. Most people will do with what's quickest, what's easiest, what's least expensive, what just, they can slap something on their website, say they helped people and be good, get the marketing leverage out of it and be good. But Gary didn't care about that. He didn't care if we even told a soul what we were doing. He cared about that individual who was out in remote villages in Ecuador, distraught. And that impacted me a lot. That the road less followed is the one that he always took, the toughest road, and that nothing really worth achieving or doing in life is going to be really easy. And we'll find a lot of fulfillment in taking the difficult route. And so we did that. We took truckloads. We had the Young Living Academy seniors and the graduates from the previous year came all week. We packed everything up, and parents of Young Living Academy students helped us compile everything into small boxes that we could give to people with supplies and jugs of water, and we piled it all in these semi trucks, and then we took off and headed to remote villages, and it was quite an adventure. And Gary couldn't come on this trip, and it was really, really hard for him. He had to be, I can't remember where he was, but it was an international trip, and he was out of the country. But I kept him updated, and this guy loved adventure, right? I mean, guy was like kind of like kamikaze, right? Like we go snowmobiling, and he just go straight up a mountain, and he's going like, it seemed like 90 miles an hour. Like, Gary, you're on ice. Like, this is dangerous. But he flew up, he'd be flipping around and doing these crazy things, and Jacob would follow him a bit, and someone would get stuck and Gary would dig him out with a shovel. I mean, he just loved adventure. Same skiing. I mean, the guy was a jouster. I mean, everything he did it all the way 100%, and nothing scared him. So he actually liked this story I'm about to tell. When we're about to get off we're on a pretty remote road heading out to, folks who needed it most. And a small band of bad guys got wind that we had a lot of supplies. And so we actually were surrounded by this. We're in our caravan with all of our supplies, and we were surrounded by motorcycles. And
where was this?
This was in Ecuador, about an hour and a half north of Chongqing.
Okay.
Near the epicenter of the earthquake. And not a lot of people know this story.
Okay.
Stelios knows this story. He was there. So this truck got in front of us and then would slow down, trying to stop us, right? Trying to stop us and rob us. And I remember thinking, uh-oh. But you know, we're in larger vehicles than they were. And I remember just saying to the driver, step on it. Like, we are not stopping. These guys are not stopping us. If Gary were here, he'd say, get out of my way. And so we did that. We just rode our trucks and our vans right up behind them and said, you're going to try to slow us down? We're not going to let you. And they, you know, they were I'm sure taken aback a bit by our lack of fear, but they eventually just turned down another street, went to bug someone else. But you know, I mean, maybe that's why corporate staff now travels with bodyguards. But just with what instilled in me in that moment when I felt fear, but I thought, no, we're doing something good. We are helping people who need it most. We are in the right. We will be protected. And I knew that's what Gary would have said. I knew that's what he would have done. I knew he wouldn't kowtow to anyone. I knew he wouldn't just give in to someone trying to bully him. But he always knew, when you're doing what's right, when you're helping people, when you're serving, God will protect you and will provide a way. You just have to keep saying yes and keep moving forward time after time after time again, and things will unfold. So if you'll show the next picture, this was the village we got to. There was a large group of people that had gathered. We saw them coming in on donkeys from all over the place. And they were supposed to get a shipment. And then they got word that the people were not coming. And when we heard that, we went we knew there was a large gathering where people had nothing. And so we went and we gave them each one of these relief packages. And gosh, to see the looks on their faces, it was priceless. And Gary was right. The people who need it most are often most appreciative. And it was a feeling that's difficult to convey, but it was just pure joy and fulfillment in being connected with our brothers and sisters around the world, and being a united family. So I'm glad he set that tone, that we don't do what's easy, we don't do what's convenient, but we go where no one else will go, and we help people who need it most. That has stuck with me quite a bit, and I'm very appreciative to Gary for it. Have there been any questions, or should I just keep rocking and rolling with these stories? Anyone? Keep it going. All right. Again, we're another example of Gary knowing that he has expertise, he has resources, he has abilities, and so he'll go where no one else will go. If you go ahead and show the next slide. This is Gary on a tractor in Nepal, and in Yarsa, Nepal. And again, after the earthquake there in 2014, Gary went in 2015 and saw the destruction in this small village. It's at the base of the Himalayas, very, very, very remote area, about a 12-hour drive from Kathmandu, very bumpy road, no roads. This is Gary actually making a road to, yeah, to the village.
Like him. He'll make the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People say, but Gary, there's no road to get to that village. Well, so what should we do? Build a road, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, literally zero limitations, zero roadblocks ever in that man's mind. It's incredible. So this is him building a road. I don't know if you can see him inside the tractor, but he has a grin about from ear to ear, because that was his happy place. I tell you what, being in boots on the ground, doing the work himself, not farming out hard work to other people, not finding another organization that can do this in our place, but he wanted to be on the ground doing it himself. So we stayed in small tents in this little village, and woke up at 4:00 in the morning every morning. And I swear that man is, I would think, man, Gary, I feel like I'm like half your age, but you can run 10 times, 100 times faster than I can. I mean, it's like he literally, he didn't sleep a lot, because he would wake up these ideas and this energy to go out and do. And that's why I said he lived so many lives in his short time, because he really took every opportunity to live life. He was not stagnant at all. And like literally, I remember being on a Young Living cruise with him once and thought, Gary, did you get to relax at all on this cruise? And he said, I hate these things. Loved being with the members, of course. But he said, I hate these things. I just want to be out there. I want to get to our farm. I want to do the work. I want to be on my machines. He said, I don't need to sit on a beach. I don't need to be on a boat where what am I going to lay out in the sun? And the man just had this constant hustle and drive, because he knew what he was capable of. I'm convinced that's what drove him to run so fast always. So he, again, very busy schedule, right? I mean, he was looking at his calendar. I remember when we planned this trip, looking at his calendar, it's like, Garrett, you don't have 2 free weeks ever in your life. And he said, okay, well, we're going to just move some things around. We're going to cut some things short. We're going to, and he would never compromise when it was something to do with members, right? He would never cut any event, any experience short when it was something that was special to members. So again, that's the only reason he enjoyed cruises, because he enjoyed being with members.
I remember the times when he would just fly in, get on to the ship to be with us, and then he will fly out.
Exactly.
He gets to do whatever he wants to do. Yeah.
Exactly. He thought these excursion days, excursions, he liked to have fun, and he liked to have fun with members, but there was no sitting on beaches for Gary Young. So he moved his schedule around so that he could be here in Yarsa for 2 weeks, 2 full weeks. He spent every single day, wake up early in the morning. We made breakfast together, extravagant breakfast, because I thought, Gary, when I travel by myself, I eat bars. But, Wolfberry and Sleek bars, that's what existed at the time. Like, that's my mainstay. And maybe I shouldn't be sharing that. But he loved his good, he grew up as a farm boy, and he loved his good, hearty breakfast. So we'd have these 7-layer breakfasts. I remember thinking, man, I never wake up this early, and surely not to make a big breakfast. But that again, he didn't want to waste any time, and he wanted energy to get all the way through to midday. And then we'd go out, and he said, okay, we're going to clear all of this land for the school. We're, meaning Gary and me, like the two of us, were going to clear the land. I was like, Gary, I'm a lawyer, right? Like, I mean, I love adventure. I love getting, my feet dirty, being boots on the ground. That is definitely a happy place, but I don't know how to clear land to make a school. And he's like, well, of course, that's what I'm here for. And he said, what you can do is you can go before me. So I'd be in this big dirt pile. And he said, you could just throw out the bricks and the metal and anything that's not dirt. You just throw it into a pile over there.
Very useful.
I thought, man, my life is so different right now. But I loved it. All right, we throw the scrap metal, and he'd get this big bulldozer, and he'd tear up another whole big dump or big sack of dirt, and I'd sift through it, and he'd go somewhere else and tear up the area, and then he'd till it, and he'd make it all smooth. And I remember he would say to me, Nikki, look at all the men in this village just watching us do this. He said, I hope they learn a lesson from this. They're not coming to help. They see a woman here working hard, and I hope they over the course of this next 2 weeks, they decide, okay, we see this guy here who's coming in and working his tail off from 4 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. And I hope they come and learn a little lesson. Not that they weren't hardworking, but he said, I hope they come and actually help you, throw bricks and whatnot. And they did. They did. By the second week, kids came and helped me, women and children. And by the end, we were all working together and all doing it together. And there weren't these barriers of Western world and we're Americans, they're Nepalese. It was all just one family working together for a common goal. And it was amazing. And I loved the vision he had to see that and to see, we're going to help them, but really this is their village. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is to empower them and teach them and show them. And then he taught the local villagers how to run the machines. And I remember the first time we saw a villager in one of the small rototillers, and he was going around. His eyes were like this big. Thinking, oh my goodness, what is this? But then he got it down, and he loved it, and he would do it all day long, and he just delighted in this hard work. And the brick building machine was, Gary taught through interpreters, taught each of the village men how to use the machine. And then the women and the girls would come, and they wanted to help as well, and he would get them involved. And it was just awesome. It was a group effort, a united effort, and just brought him and me and the villagers a great amount of joy. So it just Gary always wanted to teach life lessons through his day-to-day interactions, through, the company in general. That's one of the things I miss most, is having those deep heart-to-heart conversations with Gary about what matters most in life. We would have a meeting with Gary that typically would be a half hour to an hour, would be 4, 5, 6 hours. I remember so many times thinking, Gary, it's 9 p.m. We're in the office. We haven't eaten any food. but he's just so excited about life in general. And what the reason meetings ran so long is because he used every opportunity to teach a life lesson, to instill principles, all of the things that I'm saying now about Gary, these aren't just things I deduced from him. These aren't just things I thought, oh, he must really care about that. It's because he constantly talked about it. He constantly talked about going where no one else will go, helping people even when it's hard, doing the impossible, finding a way, not giving in to just your natural tendency to want to take an easy route. And I very much value those life lessons that he taught. And he took the opportunity to, it's not just because I got to have one-on-one meetings with him. He would stop in the hallway or down in, the welcome area of the office, and he would talk to people individually. He'd say, oh, how's your family? How's this? How's that? The most important person in the room to Gary was always the person standing in front of him.
Yeah.
And he was never in a hurry, too much of a hurry to take time for that person. There was never anything pressing enough that he wouldn't see people and take time to invest in them, even if it was a quick interaction. Even if he didn't know their name, he knew their face. He was actually terrible at names. But he knew his employees and he loved them dearly. And always took time for them. Yeah. That was something that left a huge impression on me. And again, goes back to the principle that this company is based on people and on investing in people and doing what's best for people. And always people over profit, always purpose over profit.
I think you have one more picture. Do you want me to show that?
Sure, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Aww.
That's a fun one. That was when Gary was teaching me how to drive a tractor.
I know. He always wants to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, this was at a winter harvest. And again, he wanted to be on the ground with members, interacting, never too busy for anyone. And he actually said, oh, let's take a selfie there as he was trying to teach me how to drive the tractor. And I'm sure I wasn't good at it. But he just took time for people always. And I remember a time at convention. This was when the convention was in Dallas, and we had back-to-back conventions. So it was the second convention, and it was a night where he had just announced that all of the proceeds of his book were going to go to the Young Living Foundation. And he said that he would meet people who wanted to get their book signed for a couple hours after the general session. And I remember going to him at about 10 p.m. and saying, Gary, you have been standing here for 7 hours. You have another day on stage tomorrow. General session is tomorrow. I think it's time to get some rest. And he said, Nikki, I can barely stand anymore. My legs hurt so bad. I'm so exhausted. My face, it feels like it's in permagrin, like, that face you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, but it means so much to the members. And he said, so I'll stay here until they're all gone. And because he knew that just a slight interaction, maybe that was going to be the only interaction that member ever got with him, because there's millions of members, right? It's impossible for the vast majority of the members to ever have a personal interaction with him. And he said, I'm not going to go to, you know, my room to rest and sacrifice that member's one potential interaction. Said, I love our members and they make sacrifices for us and they're the heartbeat of this company. The least I can do is stand here in line to meet them. And that was incredible. I mean, the heart, he constantly put himself last. Whenever there was an opportunity to, you know, cater to himself, personal, whatever, rest, anything, he always chose the member. He always chose the other person. And that's quite the legacy.
I wanted to actually jump in and ask you,
Yeah.
what is that one thing you really miss about Gary?
I really miss those one-on-one talks of just talking with Gary about the things that matter most on plane flights, in meetings, just walking down a hall in a car, and you know, in Ecuador, we spent my first 2 weeks. Well, yeah, we spent in my first month working there. I spent 2 of those weeks with the entire Young family at their home in Ecuador. And after a full day of go, we'd sit together at night, probably 9 or 10 p.m. We'd make dinner together. We'd sit there. Gary or one of the family members would pray over the meal. And then we'd just talk about life, about what was going on, what was important to people. I remember talking to him about different things that he was worried about with his kids and, you know, the future for them, and just, you know, just like one-on-one, like a father figure and like an amazing mentor and friend. And me telling him the same things, me saying, you know, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that, I don't know how to do this. And he would just walk me through, coach me through it, never make me feel less than or feel ashamed that I didn't know how to do something or was afraid of a potential outcome. He would just say, okay, well, let's just walk through. And he would teach me by holding my hand through the process how to just feel confident and courageous about and full of faith about whatever initiative it was, because we were doing the right thing. And so what I miss most is those moments of just having one-on-one conversations with him about life. And I really miss, I miss his laugh. He had a really hearty laugh, and he would laugh often. And he would just he would kind of lean back in his chair as he's laughing. And he was a jokester for sure, and loved to have fun, like kind of intense fun. but yeah, I mean, he's just a multifaceted. I mean, there's so many things about him. It's hard to sum it up in just a sentence or even characteristics, but the man impacted an enormous amount of people on a very large scale, but also one-on-one, on a very individual scale. And I think that's really difficult and takes very concerted, intentional actions and, you know, deliberate attention to people in order to have that kind of an impact.
I'm going to ask the girls if they have any questions for you, actually.
All right.
But, you know, we are kind of like working through the questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that you have that same intensity like him. I have to say that. Like listening to you, I actually feel like Gary's here. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh.
like, live it now, you know? So, yeah.
Well, he sure made me tired, but he made me want to run after him.
I think,
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I remember first seeing you, Nikki, in France. I think that was when you were first introduced to us, the France Diamond Retreat. And now I'm skeptical all the time, right? So when there was a new staff corporate member coming out, I was telling Kai, I'm like, oh, sure. Until I heard you speak. And I turned to Kai and said, okay, this woman has substance. Like she's real, she's authentic. So I think my question is, I mean, before you really did a lot of work with YL, you were already intelligent, you were audacious, you know, you were very clear, you were loving and all. How has your growth been as a result of being in YL and being in under Gary's leadership? Yeah.
That's a great question. And I remember talking to Mary shortly after Gary passed and saying, Mary, I am so grateful to Gary for giving me wings to just fly. And I would say that is he was so intentional about growing people. He was not consumed with growing a business. He was consumed with growing people, and he knew the business would grow when he grew the people. And he gave me opportunities and just autonomy to just run. I mean, I when he said, this is what we have at the foundation, it was run by an amazing man, Don Clare, before I came on, and his staff. And he said, I want to grow it. I want it to reach more people. And in my time there, we grew it pretty fast. We ran because he let me. He gave me the wings to fly and the space to fly, to make mistakes and to try things and to have an inclination that I think we need projects in Africa. I think we need to help our brothers and sisters in Africa. And there was some pushback initially for different reasons, but he believed in me, and he believed in my intuition and in my passion, and he knew that it was in line with that. I was in line with him, that what I wanted was what he wanted, and that our hearts were in the same place. And so he let me run. He let me have crazy ideas. He let me, he is the guy with the craziest ideas on the planet. And so when I come to him with an idea, he's like, all right, well, let's try it. Let's do it. I go to Uganda, and he tells me to eat the soil and, see if we can build a farm out. And I said, Gary, again, I appreciate the confidence. I'm a lawyer. It tastes like dirt, man. Like, it's soil. He's like, what's the pH? I'm like, puh. Like, I mean, it's gross. It's soil. Yeah. But I love that he just assumed that I would know these things or figure them out. Yeah. But he really gave me the opportunities and the space to just fly, to the wings to fly. And I am incredibly grateful for that. And that accelerated my growth exponentially. No question.
And I think that is a huge leadership lesson, right? To embrace someone who has a big personality, and to be able to work alongside just trusting each other, and like you say, giving you the autonomy to actually just run, you know.
Totally. He empowered me incredibly.
I think Charlene has a question. Charlene, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi. Hi. So I'm asking this question on behalf of like new members who have just joined Young Living. And I think they are very new to the Young Living culture. And I'm just wondering if you have a word for new members, what would you want to tell them about Young Living as a company, and also Gary as a founder of the company? Like what are they part of?
Absolutely. So Gary started this company back 25 years ago, right? Maybe 27 years ago or so. And because he knew what he could do, again, that same principle, he knew he didn't have the resources at the time, but he had the brilliance. And so he took the seeds, the lavender seeds, in his boots from France to Spokane, Washington, started his own small lavender field, built his own distillery, and created everything himself because he learned how to do it. He knew he could do it. He saw the vision of what could be way before it ever existed. And he was so committed to authenticity. He was so committed to quality that he wanted to do it himself. He didn't have other companies do it for him. He did it himself. That is the roots that began this company and that remain with this company and that's seed to seal. That's exists in every layer of the company, is the authenticity that this brilliant man who knew no limitations and knew the impact he could have on the world, did it for the right reasons and cared enough to do it himself so that it was done right. And I think the lesson there is the confidence that we can have in the products, because they are created by the person who created them for the right reasons. Companies that kind of come and go and that don't really last, you'll often see that the foundation of those companies, they were created to make a profit, to sidestep different processes, to not do things quite as right, to cut corners so that you can maximize profits, maximize output. And Gary never, ever did that. He did it himself from the beginning and then taught others to do it. And always at the heart of what he did was authenticity. He was the real deal, and he built a company that is the real deal. So I'd say that's the confidence you can have as a new member, that the company is built on sound principles and a solid foundation based in the things that matter most, and the products come from those same principles. Great question.
Thank you.
Okay.
One more from Sheena.
Okay. So one last question. I think especially with you working with YLF, it's very clear that Gary is always about empowering people, which is something that you mentioned just now also. And we know that he is still around because his teachings are all inside us. Mm-hmm. So I guess right now my question would be for you, what would you want to say to everyone who's watching this? So it's no longer about what Gary said last time, but now it's inside of you. So from Nikki Davis, what do you want to tell people out there who's listening to this right now?
What do I want to tell people? Well, I think that the biggest thing I would tell people is what matters most, and don't sacrifice what matters most for anything else. But stay true to what you in your heart and soul know is what brings you peace, joy, passion, purpose, and hold tight to that and run with it, and you won't fail.
Wow. Thank you, Nikki. You know, I always say that it's always interesting to watch the people that come towards Young Living. And I've heard it so often from many different people that it's almost like there's a magnetic energy, and it always starts from Gary. Like he attracts certain types of people that will come in, that you may not stay forever, but you will always come in here and you will just grow with the company, contribute to the same vision. And you know, it's like, you know it when you hear someone speak and resonate on that same level. Like, I think a lot of us are sitting here going like, you know, like just listening to you. Thank you for bringing so many stories, so many things that, intimate stories that you've shared with Gary, that you've lived part of his life with, and makes me miss him a lot. And I really just hope that as people listen to this, that I think that they could start picking up a slice of, like what you say, the authenticity of this company was built on the love and passion of this one human being that saw every single person.
Amen.
Gosh, thank you. I don't know how we're going to go to sleep. There's an exposed German. I'm like going to go to sleep and go like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be thinking about Gary. But thank you. And I just want to kind of like make sure that the other girls who've been with us through this, do you guys have anything that you go like, I really want to ask right now? Speak, or you will miss this chance. Anyone with like a burning question? No? Okay. Oh, is that
Hi, Nikki. Nikki, I first saw you during the Malaysia opening. And then it suddenly strikes me what Kai and Sheena say. It's like the fire in you is still like the same when I first saw you on stage. And like, it's very real. And I always remember how you said you wish that you have more time, that you can work non-stop and you can help more people. And that really touched me. And I feel that is a very strong energy from Gary as well. And yeah, and I love what you share about how there's no roadblocks in this guy's mind. It's so much that I took away tonight. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. It's so nice to see you again. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, guys.
It's so nice to be with all of you. Thank you so much for organizing this. And it's, you know, Kai, when you said that it's like Young Living brings these like-minded people and hearts together. I remember going on stage. Every time I would walk on stage, I'd be so nervous, and then I'd feel like, oh, I'm just walking out to thousands of hugs. It felt like, you know, it's just it's amazing what happens when we're all knit together in a common purpose and in something that's real, that's affected and changed and blessed all of our lives. It's just such a blessing to know each of you. And you all have very, very, very much blessed and enhanced my life, and I'm grateful for it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Nikki, for doing this for us and for, I think, a lot of people that's going to get to listen to this and going to send you private messages about how much they are crying. Okay. We all miss Gary. So thank you again. And I'm going to stop the recording right now.